Hi, Joy Tribe. Welcome back to my podcast, The Joyful Life. Today, I have a very special guest, and we are going to go over some very important topics for marriage, for feminine energy, for dating, wherever you are. Male and female can listen in. I am so excited. So, welcome back to this episode, and welcome to the Joyful Life podcast, Miss Adrienne Everheart.
Hi there. I'm so happy to be here with you. Thanks for having
I
me.
have you. Yes. So, Joy Tribe, I want you guys to know that I have been a fan of this woman for years. We talked a little bit before the podcast how I found her work when I got divorced. It was a really tough time. I was married for about 7 years, and I didn't really date before I met my ex husband, too, for a year, right? I dated a lot when I was younger. And then I found myself divorced, 33. I'm like, what is this crazy life we've got? Dating apps. We've got crazy stuff going on. And I just scoured the internet. I read every single book I could on dating. I watched every single video. And one that stood out was Adrienne's work on feminine energy.
Yeah.
And I binged everything you do. And I still do to this day. I watch everything. I love it. I use it in my relationship. So I'm really honored that you're doing the podcast today.
Well, I'm so happy to be here and to share this message of feminine energy. I have to tell you, when I discovered feminine energy, I had no idea what it was. I was so out of touch with my feelings. And I was a self proclaimed ball busting, you know what? And I can still turn that on when I need to, believe me. But I
Yeah.
was operating from a place of fear and protecting myself instead of
Hmm.
actually knowing how to be whole, a man and a
Right.
woman being whole and balancing those energies.
Mm.
Even if you're a gay couple or heterosexual, whatever, one of you has more feminine, one of you has more masculine, or you identify with it in such a way, or maybe you identify more with a neutral energy. But long story short, a relationship, a healthy relationship, is about having balance with those energies.
Right, exactly. And it's funny because I talk about feminine energy, masculine energy on this podcast, but I've never heard someone so succinctly describe it like you do. You use it in dating, you use it in everyday life, and you use it in marriage and relationship once you've dated. Because now, after having dated for a while, and I was in a relationship for a year, I was very public with the relationship, I was very public with my marriage. And now I'm in another relationship with a friend, which I told you about, and I'll say it quickly, but basically it's my friend who is my tattoo artist. We met 16 years ago, and we dated briefly back then, and then we just stayed as friends. He's been there
Mhm.
through every major thing in my life, from my father passing to my divorce, just purely platonic as friends, but very deep connection.
Yeah.
And then I moved back to Florida after doing a lot of inner work near my family, and he happens to live in Florida, and so we connected just as like, oh, let's connect. And it was the most magical thing,
Mhm.
Adrienne. We are together now 4 months at the time of this recording. And it's like, this is it. This is like, it's like coming home. So I know the work I did using your program, your books, which we'll get into a little bit more. You've got 5 incredible topics, 5 incredible tips for us today. But I
Yeah.
got to say, using what you've taught me and using the principles that we're going to go over today has helped me find a very healthy, real, wild, artistic, perfect for me
Mhm.
relationship. And I'm in
Mhm.
my feminine. He's a very masculine man. And we talk about that polarity, the
Yeah.
opposites, right?
Yeah. Yeah. What you're describing, and thank you for all the wonderful things you're saying to me, but
Yeah.
you're doing the work.
Yeah.
You're doing the work. And we are brought up in this masculine energy world. By we, I mean women. And we're brought up in this
Mhm.
masculine energy world. And all the generations before us, your grandmother possibly had access to birth control. But
Mhm.
women before her and those generations before them, their survival was dependent upon being nice to a man. And that
That's right.
niceness for our survival in many parts of the world still, that niceness for our survival, basically it trickled down. And then we had the feminist movement, and we're all
Mhm.
equal, and we're all the, we're not so much equal in terms of strength and what we like to do and what feels natural and things like this.
Right.
But it sort of like created this, energy flip where we didn't know how to go from being surviving, being nice, to I'm
Mhm.
now a powerful dynamite woman. And
Right.
that's where a lot of women in relationships are right now, is in that struggle of like, how
Mm.
do I assert myself? How am I powerful and dynamite? But
Mhm.
also, I can balance myself with this masculine energy. It feels very confusing until you start
Yeah.
learning how to use it and use those tools. It can feel very
It's so
confusing.
true. It's so true because it's like you said, you mentioned fear. It's a protective, fearful layer. It's like I met a beautiful woman the other day and she works in spiritual practices like Reiki healing, crystals, and she's so feminine, so amazing. And she is married and she told me her husband, she splits all the bills with her husband. Her husband makes a lot more money than she does.
Mhm,
Um,
mhm.
she has she has like a waitress job and he is a trucker. So he's out, truckers make a lot of money. He doesn't want her to work, but she says, I will not be dependent on a man. I will not have a man have power over me. And when she said it was this hardness that came over her. And
Yeah,
I told her, you're going to have to be dependent on him for something. He's going to
yeah,
have to know he's needed. We can do everything. Women are strong.
oh,
Raw, I'm a
yeah,
woman. We can do
that's right.
everything. We're mama bears. We were created beautifully and wonderfully to be able to handle so many different things as mothers, as women. We have that energy, but we shouldn't have to do everything.
It's
And
exhausting,
it's exhausting.
and it
Being a
runs us
boss babe
down.
24/7 is like it's stressful. Our adrenals are stressed. Women's
Yeah,
infertility is stressed. Women don't know, like, where am I in this world? I'm lonely, but I have cats and I want a man, but but I don't want a man and I want a man. There's so
it's
much confusion.
confusing. I really thought for the longest time that feminine energy was some flaky powder puff doormat where you had to be submissive and you had to
Mm.
really let a man just dominate you, and it's his way. And even from time to time, I get women on my YouTube channel that say, "Hey, just cut the crap with this. You're selling something that is just not natural, and you're selling something that's hurting women." And I'm like, "No, it's balancing. This is about wholeness, and it's about
Mhm.
balancing these energies with your partner."
That's
And
right.
and most men are masculine energy men, even the few men that are drawn to powerful dynamite women, they're drawn to you. Feminine energy men can be drawn to a masculine energy woman because they want more of what you've got.
Right.
They want more of that go get it, conquer the world, I can do anything energy because they
Yes.
don't have it.
Right. It's so hard too, Adrienne, to be because I love your story. You were a powerhouse, right? I think CEO, you grew up in that climbing the corporate ladder, you did stuff where you had to be a boss babe, right? And that's a
Yes.
gentle word for it, but really we know what the like feminism now is teaching dominate, attack. It's a masculine movement rather
Mhm.
than a protective movement of nurturing women to be independent and to be themselves and to find themselves, which I agree. But you
Mhm.
cannot relationship if you're still trying to own the other person and dominate the other person,
Yeah,
especially
it's
in
a power struggle.
it's a power struggle. It's
Yeah.
and it's you can be a boss. This is how I see it is you can be a boss babe at work. You can be controlling, demanding, not even controlling. It's really just in control, right? You can have
Mhm.
employees, you can tell a man what to do when they work for you or you're at work and you're working on a project. But when you come home, you don't want to bring that energy at home
Right,
because it's going to destroy your marriage. It's going to destroy your chances. Like you said, you're going to have a man that's not in his masculine, but in his feminine, and you're going to try to fight a man as a man, which will never work because we're not men.
that's
So
right.
it's like it's
That's right. I
crazy.
have those 2 rams. I have that picture. 2 rams on the mountaintop. That's it.
Locking those horns.
And whenever you're locking horns with your partner, I can promise you
Mm,
behind it is someone is trying to control the other one. There's some
mhm,
form of fear because that's what control is. And you can
mm.
always very quickly find out what it is, because you can just say, what am I trying to control right now? Or where do I feel controlled? And you'll find the answer.
Wow. You
Yeah.
talk a lot about too in your videos, and you've got a book, 500 Ways to Talk to a Man,
Yeah.
right? Which is an
Yes.
incredible book. Joy Tribe, get that book. I bought the book. I bought some of her video courses. This is someone that I trust and use. And you also have a free gift for my listeners today, which I'm really excited for.
I do. I have 500 Ways, which is currently right now just in ebook version.
Mhm.
It'll be a little bit before the paper version comes back out. But you can
Okay.
head on over to my website and you can get a premiere for that, which is some feminine energy scriptings to increase love and desire. It's totally free.
Ooh.
It's at my website, everhartcoaching.com/free gift. That's all you need.
Ooh. And for those of listening to the podcast, you can go over there. But if you're watching the podcast, I just have a little everhartcoaching.com/free
Right here.
gift. Yes, little ticker tape down there. Boom. Love it. So, one of the things you talk about too is boy energy. And we're going to get into the 5 steps in just a minute, the 5 steps towards using feminine energy in our marriage, in our life. But you talk about boy energy, and I have to say that indicated a lot to me. Can you explain a little bit about what boy energy is and how that comes up in a woman when she's feeling
Oh,
unsafe?
yeah. Yeah, so boy energy is akin to masculine energy, but
Mhm,
most of us have an inner boy and we have an inner girl,
mhm,
because in a lot of cases, you're fresh to being an adult. This is
mhm.
new, but you were always a child. That
Right.
child is always with you. And so at some point in time, you begin to identify, you see what's going on in your house or with your siblings, and you see which energy is more spunkier, which energy gets you more praise. And for me, it was my inner boy. I have a really popular story about how I was at the zoo with my parents and running around as a little kid does, and tripping and falling where your feet are outgrowing your shoes faster than you can keep up with. And I fell and I skinned my knee so bad. And I remember just feeling my parents' energy, my mom, scooping me up to see what was wrong with me, but my dad being like, oh God, here we go. And doing everything I could to not cry. And I remember this
Mm,
so well, like breathing and holding back. And my mom said, look how mature you are. Look how mature you are. You're not crying. You hurt your
wow.
knee really, really bad. And I said, it's not that bad. And it hurt so bad. Oh, it had gravel in, it was one of those. And but I
Oh,
remember like and my dad was like, like good. And I was like,
yeah.
there's my inner boy. My inner boy's like, you
Oh
didn't
my
hurt me.
God.
You didn't
Just
hurt me.
walk it
You didn't
off.
just walk it off. That's right.
And you got approval for that. So it's like a lot of this stuff comes from childhood, doesn't it?
Oh yeah. Yeah. And so your inner boy like realizes how to be tough and how to be
Oh.
strong. And inner boy also is a real BS caller. He will
Mm.
see when another man isn't doing what that man should be doing.
Mhm.
It is always your inner boy who's like, like, what are you doing? Like, I cannot believe he said that. Look at him. It's your inner
Yeah.
boy, because he has a very high esteem of himself, and it's kind of like, y'all know the teenage boy when they just are so superior, they go through that very superior
Mhm.
stage. It's a little bit, my inner boy is a little bit like that. He has a
Yeah,
little bit of
cocky.
like, yeah, cocky,
Yeah.
elitist, like there's I don't do anything, or
Mm.
yeah, you're
What?
doing these great body language.
Yeah. What?
And
Hey,
that's
girl.
how,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, all of that. Watch the video. What Joy's doing right now.
Yeah.
And so
Mm.
inner boy, he gets involved with staying on top of your husband or your partner, and what are they doing and how are they doing it.
Ooh.
And then you go
Woo.
back to the man to man power struggle,
Mm.
masculine to masculine energy power struggle.
Yeah, because men feel it and they know it's something wrong and it doesn't It's interesting because that when I'm feeling frustrated and I'm like, "Why won't he do this?" Or, "Why won't he?" It's because I and then I go back to I'm like, "This is inner boy trying to control it, judgmental, critical." My inner boy is really critical. He's like a protective older brother, but he's young. And it's true. It's like we have that in us. And it's funny because with Jeremy, my boyfriend, I realized, and we talk about this, what he fell in love with me is this little girl inside me.
Yeah.
Oh my God, Adrian,
It's
like
very
being able to
sweet.
show him that. And he says, "You have a little girl voice that comes out." I never heard that before because we were friends for so long. And, we were just like friends. And it's just, I'm not trying to be sensitive or vulnerable. I'm just being normal.
Yeah.
But when I'm vulnerable and sensitive and I let my guard fully down, and I would cry with him. And it was something where I had to do a lot of inner work on myself, even recently. The inner work never ends, right? God is so good.
Yeah.
I was able to just lower my guard and be like, I'm ready for more work. I had to
Yeah.
forgive a lot of my exes. I had to forgive my ex-husband. I had to take responsibility for the things I did wrong. For me, that was important. Journaling every day, spending time in nature. I don't drink, I don't try to go out too much, but, listening to music. For me, personal things, modalities that worked for me, lots of prayer. And it led me to a point where I could be very vulnerable with him. And
Mhm.
I know that if I couldn't, this would never work. I have a lot of ego. I'm an artist. I'm a performer. I've done my own thing. It's like, yeah, I
Uh-huh.
can come in like, what you gonna show me? What you got? But
Yeah.
that's
Yeah. Competition. Yeah, competition. But instead, you're not competing at home with your partner
Mm,
because there's no
right.
reason to.
There is
If
no
anything, if
competition.
anything, they're on audition for you all the time, and a man likes that because that's when a man has a job, and he's
Mhm.
always showing you how good he is at doing something and
Yeah,
how awesome he can be at providing, maintaining and pursuing for you. Men
oh,
like to do this
oh, so
for
nice.
women.
It
They like that
it feels
job.
so good. It feels good to hear this too because I'm really blessed that my man is very masculine, and we talk about the polarity, divine masculine, divine feminine, how we increase each other's power by being who we are. And I love feeding into that for him, and he feeds it into me, and it's a teamwork. It's a
Yeah.
flow. It's a yin and yang. It's a light and dark. It's a moon and sun. We have polar opposites. We do have a binary in this world. Like you said, even if if you identify as more feminine as a man, then you're going to want a masculine woman. If you're two men, you're
Absolutely.
going to want, it's always going to be
Sure.
polarities, whether you're
Sure.
both the same gender or not.
Yeah.
And people don't like to think about that sometimes.
Right.
But because I also see the comments sometimes, and they're like, oh, this isn't. But if you're a woman and you're hearing this and you're bristling from this information, go in to see where you were hurt,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? Go in to see, like, really check out some of Adrienne's videos. Start listening to her. It's very non-judgmental. It's very soft. I love that you share your journey. You share your marriage. You share how you manifested, how you envisioned your wedding.
Absolutely. Yeah. Every
Beautiful
step of the
thing.
way. Mhm.
It's
Mhm. And I
powerful.
have to say that when you have a relationship, there's the relationship you have with yourself, there's the
Yeah.
relationship you have with the man and the relationship he has with himself, and then
Mhm.
it has to go through God. There
Amen.
has to be always also that relationship with God. So it really is
Yeah.
three different things happening.
Mhm.
Sometimes women say, "I've done all this work, I've done everything. The guy didn't stick around," and I'm like,
Mm.
if God doesn't want it, it's not going to happen. And
Amen.
it's not that there's necessarily a predetermined person you're supposed to be with. I'm not
Mm.
sure how that
Mm.
I don't know, I don't know how that plays out, but
Yeah.
it will unfold easily. I get women who are coming to me for coaching and they
Mm.
have this quagmire of a problem with a man going back and forth and leaving and getting back together. And I just tell them, look, it's not always going to be easy to have a relationship. They take work,
Yeah.
but to create that relationship, to get it going, it'll actually
Mm.
unfold pretty easily.
Right. It's true. I agree with that. And it's like God is the center of my relationship now. And we pray together. We talk about God. We
Yeah.
bring God into our lives. You have to have a spiritual center. I believe otherwise you would eat each other alive. Like my ego would explode, my doubts, my fears. Like there has to be something greater than just me because we're not always it's so hard and so much work and we have so much pain and suffering and trauma. All of us
A
have all this.
lot.
It's a lot. And when we can really truly release and let go and let God and just embrace the person in front of us and make the decision, because a lot
Yeah.
for me, it was making a decision, deciding. I mean, to be honest, it was so obvious with us. There were so many spiritual things and having had friendship and coming back, it both hit us like
Mhm.
lightning. But having a masculine man, you have to also be in your feminine. And it's kind of like because I know some women are like, well, I'll be my feminine when he's in his masculine. And that's almost like saying, well, do you want him to be feminine until you're in your feminine, then
Yeah.
he'll be in his masculine? It's
Yeah.
like, we can't be like, well, show me what you got. Then it's just all this
That's right.
protective. There's this whole thing in today's culture where it's like, oh, hashtag me, hashtag self care, which is
Right.
beautiful.
Right.
But what about that other person? They're also a person who's been wounded,
That's
who's been
yeah.
through things. Women forget that men have feelings too, just because they don't show them as obviously or as outside as we do, just because they speak a little bit of a different language, operate in a little different energy. They're still human beings with their own set of wounds and love and desires. What do you say to women who say, well, I can't be feminine until he's masculine, or he's got to start first, or that sort of idea?
Yeah. They're saying that because they're coming from a place where they're wounded and they've been already through a lot. They've maybe found this work a little late in the game, and exhaustion is part of the deal. So
Mhm.
it only takes one of you to change the relationship for both of you. Something as simple as a boundary or as focusing on yourself instead of putting all your energy into what the man is or isn't doing or how he's getting it done. When you start to peel your energy off that man and put it back onto yourself, well, one of you is changing.
Mm.
And by proxy, the other one will change.
Right. I love that. I think it's a
Mhm.
beautiful segue to go into our topic today, which is 5 traditional feminine energy values for happier marriage and life. So we
Yeah.
probably touched on a few of those, right?
Well, we did, but it'll be a nice refresher for anyone who's listening. I can tell this episode's already becoming a masterclass in feminine energy and
Ooh,
relationships.
I love that. I love
Yeah,
that.
we're doing a
My
lot
Joy
of
Tribe
deep work.
know. Yeah, my Joy Tribe know I like to go deep, and that is the idea of this
Mhm.
podcast is to explore more things. I mean, I'm an artist, I'm a public speaker, I'm an author. I do a lot. But one thing I've noticed is helping others in this way is so healing. I am one of those women that is about community and wants to connect with other leaders like you, especially for women. Men can learn a lot from this too, but women, I feel like it does start with us actually. When we are
It
happy
does.
and healthy and knowledgeable on how we operate in our cycles, we have cycles, our bodies, we have
Yeah.
waves, we're a lot. Men are pretty basic, I think, are a lot easier to decode.
They
But
are, and you bring up a good point, not to interrupt, but men learn
yeah, yeah.
differently than women. So the
Mm.
self-help sector, it's like, 90% women buying these books and these courses. So men learn differently. Going back to your other question, which is why should I do this?
Mm.
Well, that's how the man learns. He actually learns when you make a
Mm.
change. He learns from that.
Right,
He feels that
right.
shift in his energy. They just learn very differently than we do.
That's brilliant. That's brilliant. If women were to, and I hope my listeners, Joy Tribe, I hope you listening here, the ladies of my Joy Tribe listening, please know that you are powerful. And feminine energy is an incredibly feminine, powerful connection. It's not weakness. In fact, I feel more powerful than ever having studied feminine energy for the last few years now and having seen I've used it a lot in my life and now being smarter on how I use it and what it is and being able to still use my masculine energy when I
Oh,
need
yeah,
to. Like you
for
said, you're
sure.
still a badass. Sometimes you still got to be like, hey, but also there's a feminine way to put someone in their place. Excuse me. I don't think so.
Mhm.
Behave. I love doing that. I use my boyfriend calls it my teacher voice. It's like, knock it off. I don't
I
gotta
like that.
cuss, I don't gotta yell. I just, hey, behave.
Hey.
And a man will feel it in his core.
Yeah, and and none of us are perfect. You were talking a little bit about these social media posts and different things like this that give
Mhm.
out some really toxic advice. I mean, it means well, uh,
Yeah,
but you know, there's a big belief that your partner is supposed to be perfect. It's just not possible.
it's
And
impossible.
some
Mhm.
of these traditional values really embrace that and help you have that grateful heart, help you build that
Yes.
whole picture so that you and your partner can really function as one
Yeah,
instead
I
of two
love that.
conflicting energies. Yeah.
Exactly. And I feel like, piggybacking on what you said, which is it's so brilliant. How I see it is the man is not the prize, the woman is not the prize, the relationship is the prize.
Oh, I love that.
And not that we are not prizes in ourselves, as you talk about being a diamond girl. Absolutely, we should
Yeah.
love ourselves. I took a yoga class this morning, and then my boyfriend picked me up and we went on a hike today. But I woke up and I said, I want to take this yoga class, whether he wants to or not. It's okay. I didn't say, are you going to take this with me? I make him take it. I knew I wanted to take it, right? So for me, it was like a thing for myself and a connection with myself. And then I put on the clothes I want, and it was
Yeah.
beautiful. And
Yeah.
then we went on a hike together because Wednesdays are like our date days, and sometimes I work and do
Nice.
podcasts, and we're gonna go see a movie. He picked the movie tonight, a drive-in movie, which is very rare
Oh,
in the United States.
fun.
Yeah, it's super fun. So we create together, and he'll listen to his podcast, he'll do his thing, I'll do my thing. But when we come together, it's not, oh well, now you've got to serve me, and he does do a lot for me. He spoils me a
And when
lot.
you go away for that yoga class, he misses you. And when
Exactly.
you have your own identity away from him, they miss
Mm,
you. If a man is
mhm.
around feminine energy all the time, he gets saturated. He starts to
Yeah.
actually masculine energy begins, testosterone lowers. So that time
Mhm.
away is really important.
It is, it's true, and a lot of women don't know they have to give their man space. I learned that at a young age, I think also because I was raised with a very strong masculine man. My
Uh-huh.
father, this is from my dad who passed away unfortunately, but he
Oh,
was just such a good dad, Adrienne, he was so manly, and my mom was very feminine. They had a traditional relationship. My dad worked, he went to war every day, he owned a company, he's a
wow.
salesman, later became a pastor and minister. And my mom was stay-at-home mom, raising me, my younger sister,
Mhm.
my adopted older brother. So I grew up with this feminine masculine polarity, seeing them balance the scales, seeing my dad bring home flowers and treat my mom like a
Oh,
lady. They went on
nice.
dates, and oh, they were together till her untimely passing, then his a few years later. It
Oh,
works. When it works, it's like I think that even when you don't have children, even when you find someone later in life, or even when you're just dating, this can work for anyone, whether you're married or not. Using feminine energy in your life, I believe, in the traditional way it was intended. Oh,
yeah.
it's healing.
Oh,
You
it
don't have
opens
to
your
have
whole world up. Yeah, it opens your whole world up. It really does. And I noticed you and I are both very like this when we
Oh,
talk. We
yeah.
use our
Yeah.
hands,
Yes.
and that's a great segue to my first tip on those traditional values to have a happier
Mhm.
and healthier marriage relationship. And that is to understand a man's hands are his tools.
Oh, wow.
When you begin to see a man in terms of these are his tools, these are tools attached to his body every single day, and how he is serving you and this world with those hands, you begin
Mhm.
to look at him a little differently. Because a man's hands can do a lot of different things than a woman's hands can do. Sometimes when my husband is doing something, I can figure out how to do it, but he needs to be the muscle to do it. And then sometimes my little fingers can get in there and get whatever it needs to pull out. But
The
you begin
little
to really see how different you are by looking at your hands
mm.
together.
Wow.
And when you see that a man's hands are his tool, this goes back to a very traditional way that humans have evolved for years, which is everything we've evolved into and become, whether we're coming up with a concept or an idea, we can't describe it, we use our hands
Mhm.
to help us, or to how you express yourself. So, as a
Oh,
feminine energy woman, your hands show the world what your mind is thinking. And to
wow.
a masculine man, this is how, this is how he expresses himself, especially for like your partner, he's an artist.
Yes,
Those
science,
hands are his tool, like that's his tool. But also
100%.
up here, and so you begin to look at a man very differently if you can really take notice of your hands and his. And
Mm.
if you're ever feeling in your masculine energy with your partner, practice some more what feels more feminine to do with your hands.
Oh, I love that, Adrian. That
Mhm.
is so because I think a lot of girls, we get our nails done. I need to get my nails done. I play guitar. I had to cut my nails off. But when I have my long nails, it feels
Mhm.
so
You
feminine.
feel more
And
feminine,
so,
okay.
and then also though, you can do movements like you said. It's a even
Uh-huh.
slow, right? I think it was you talked about doing things
Slowing
slower.
it down, yes.
Feminine. A lot of
Yeah.
times it's a masculine thing to be
That's right.
fast, and
Right,
when
that's
you
right.
see
Yeah.
me and my partner, my boyfriend, we are so different the way we move our bodies. But come on,
Uh-huh.
come on, come on. And I'm taller than him too, so
Uh-huh.
it's really funny by 3 inches, almost 3 inches. And taller, broader, but he moves quicker and
Yeah,
masculine
yeah,
energy.
yeah,
And
yeah.
even if his hands are a bit smaller in size, they're much more masculine. The way they grab,
The
paint
muscles,
and
exactly, and
tattoos.
the
It's just
grips,
like
yeah.
it's an energy that's like this driving forward. And the
Uh-huh.
feminine
Mhm,
energy is
mhm,
very, I mean, I rest more. I'm doing things, I take my time. It is a
mhm.
lifestyle. And when women get
Yeah.
into their feminine, get used to that, give yourself time, ladies, to
Yeah,
be in your
practice it.
feminine.
Yeah, practice it. Have fun with it. And I love that you're with a
Mhm.
shorter guy. My first husband, very
Yeah.
masculine man. He was a little shorter than
Yeah.
me. And I believe that height gets way too much credit in this world. Um,
Totally.
especially
Totally.
with men, because some of the most powerful, amazing men I had in my life, and I'm
Mm,
tall as well, were,
mm.
the height had nothing to do with it. And so I love, if
Nothing.
anybody's listening, take a chance on some men that don't worry about your
Please.
high heels, don't worry about how your clothes are going to look. This is about someone who's going to love you, stick with you for forever
That's
and into
right.
the beyond. It is not
That's
about
right.
being able to wear your heels around a man. So I'm sorry if I'm
I
offending
know.
anybody.
Thank you for saying that, Adrian, because it's too much. We love our short kings out there. Short king,
Yes.
tall queen. Love them. Love the tall kings, short kings. Hashtag short king. It's gonna be short king
Yeah,
spring.
hashtag. And it is just all about that love. So moving on, so we've talked about the hand movements, which I
That's
think are
right.
just so fun to experiment with, and you
Love
start to look at
that.
your man's expression of his personality with his hands.
Mhm.
I love just shifting that focus onto that to kind of feel that feel that divide of feminine and masculine. And then the next one, people talk a lot about this, especially on social
Mm.
media, but awakening your sense of gratitude. So when you have blocked feminine energy,
Mhm.
you cannot always even find the words to express how you feel. So
Mm.
I have a big one. Don't say thank you to a man unless he's done something for you, like he's moved furniture, he's done something physical. So
Ah.
part of that gratitude is not just like, I'm grateful for my life, I'm grateful for, all my friends, but it's about, I am grateful for him. And that is one of the most important things you can say to a man is the following: I really appreciated, or I really appreciate when you do this, or when you did that. I really appreciate it. And so if you're
Wow.
in a relationship and you're struggling with your partner and you're feeling that like you're more like competitive and at each other's throats, notice three things that you are really appreciative about your partner and why. Why you're appreciative. And you're going to begin to feel that shift. And again, this is something you can be in another state. you can be in another room. And if you begin to
Yeah.
focus on that gratitude, your man energetically, that's when he's going to text your phone. That's when he's going to call you, or you're going to get around him because your energy is shifting away from that critical, which is, the worst thing to be with a man, and to that more appreciative sense of gratitude.
Wow, that's brilliant. So use your hands, pay attention to his hands, see that your
Mhm.
man's hands are his tool. And then two would be gratitude, attitude
Yeah,
of gratitude. And that, like you
awaken
said,
that sense.
is that part of what you say? You say, tap your heart and send him love. Would
Tap
that
your
be a
heart,
part?
new love. Yeah,
I love that so I think about that. I really do. Joy Tribe, this is part of Adrian's teachings that you get. The feminine energy is for everyone, especially for women to understand this is how we operate. This is how we can use this to, yes, get the man of our dreams and also to keep the man of our dreams. Because once you
feel
have
good.
them,
Yeah.
yeah, and feel good. It's not like it's not just about a relationship, it's a relationship to ourselves as well.
Mhm,
Because it
mhm.
starts with you feeling good in your body, feeling feminine, getting your girl code, getting your girl crew together, having your feminine energy things like I have a lot of flowers and smell goods and oils and I think you could be feminine and wear black or pink, but I tend
Oh,
to
yeah.
gravitate towards pink and red. And I mean, I have gems everywhere and candles, and it's just a natural expression and extension of everything that goes on in me out,
Whatever makes
you
you
know?
feel good. Yeah, whatever makes you feel good. And like for me, not necessarily artificial nails or something like that. I don't
Sure.
actually feel very feminine in that, but some women do. And so it is about
Yeah.
when you awaken that sense of gratitude and you start aligning with what feels good about your partner, again,
Mm,
you'll start to notice other things because your mind isn't focused on that masculine energy control. Gratitude is
yeah.
a very feminine energy trait. And
Oh,
whenever
I
you
love
start to
that.
lean more into the other one
Mm,
begins to awaken inside of you. Yeah, it really is a balancing act that keeps happening.
that's beautiful. That is beautiful. Preach it, sister. Woo!
I learned it all the hard way, so I'm glad to preach it to you now.
That's the way we learn, right? Hopefully, there's people who are hearing this who are like 15, 16, year old girls who are like, oh, or 12, I mean,
Yeah,
it's something you can never, if you keep your softness and you learn how to use it and can heal through your wounds, it's something that you can be young or old. It's never too late. It's never too early, right? To be in your feminine.
absolutely. I have women I work with that are in their early 20s who are already very much identifying with that they want to be a wife. And I have
Wow.
women in their late 70s who are still just learning. And that's a different generation, boy.
Whew,
But there's learning, how to be with men. There's still that generation of men. Don't get me wrong. Any generation can take a woman for granted, but
yeah.
we have some
Good
tough,
point.
tough guys. Yeah.
Yeah, good point. That's right. Yeah, this really is the best way I think to protect yourself because when you're truly in your feminine, men respond to that. And
Mhm.
for me, it's you probably know too. I'm not going to talk too much so we can get to the other steps, but when I'm in my feminine energy, it's such a grounding, strengthening, feeling good. Sometimes it's
Yeah.
girly and sometimes it's womanly. It's
Yeah.
all the levels. Sometimes it's I'm a girl and sometimes it's I'm a woman, but it's
Yeah.
still feminine and it's the essence.
Mhm.
And men respond to that. I mean, from the man at the counter, well, you look very pretty today. And I go, thank you. I
Yeah.
receive the
Yeah,
compliments. I
receiving. Yeah.
receive it, right? I know you talk about that too. You guys got to get her
Yeah.
book. You really got, I mean, just check out. There's a free gift. It's all in there.
Mhm.
A lot of what I'm saying, I'm replicating from what you, and then what you've taught me, and then what I've learned from my experience, and I
Yeah,
use it.
share it. Share it. It's gonna help this whole world heal. Is my hope is that, when the feminist movement really caught on, divorce rates skyrocketed. And
Mm,
it is,
mm.
don't get me wrong, the way we were before wasn't so great, but I think we really are
Yeah,
moving into this place of balance. Um,
balance.
and
I
and
agree.
and doing what feels good and right in the relationship and not being so
Yeah.
self-centered. So number 3 and 4 are kind of linked together. And so I'll kind of
Okay.
just kind of push them together here. But I talked about that whole concept of wholeness, where
Mm.
you are two people, but you're one unit. And I really encourage listeners to bring the word wholeness
Mm.
into their vocabulary. Let it be your daily word, wholeness, because that's going to be a shared sense of work, of income, of support, and
Right.
finding where your relationship feels at a balance. Now, you mentioned before how your friend, she earns, a much lower wage, he earns a higher wage. Well,
Yeah.
when we say shared and wholeness of income, it doesn't mean 50-50.
Mm-mm.
So 50-50 doesn't always create wholeness unless you're doing a math equation. And this is about,
Exactly.
yeah, this is about bringing wholeness into your relationship and how it feels. And if one part, for those of you who have partners that you might think if you didn't do all the housework, it would never get done, or your husband is
Mm.
lazy, he never helps out, or you have to
Mm.
ask him or stay on him to do anything.
Oh.
Feminine energy is about, what am I observing? What am I feeling? Where's this feeling out of balance? And recognizing what that is, what that feeling is, getting
Mhm.
specific about it. So sometimes
Mm.
you have to know where we are not feeling whole in order to find that wholeness. You have to be
Wow.
able to use your inner boy to understand, where is this not feeling whole? And this goes to my next step,
Mm.
which is about communication. And this is
Wow.
where that inner boy can go in, make a list of, for example, all the chores that aren't getting done. And instead of saying, hey, these aren't getting done, you need to do these. You're coming to him like you're the manager of him, you're the boss of him. So instead of coming at it from that energy, you can say, I'm doing all these extra things, and here's how it feels for me. Here's how
Mm.
this impacts my life.
Right.
So you see, now the man is connecting with your heart. He's not
Yeah.
connecting to this distribution of labor or
Mhm.
a role that you have. He's now connecting with how this impacts you. So you're coming to him with how you feel and how it impacts
Wow.
you, instead of like, you need to do better. You need to get on these tasks, right?
Exactly. And that's them's fighting words when you start saying you, which luckily people are starting to learn more about, different terms in terms of relationships and I feel like people think with more like I rather than you,
Yeah,
but even better to say I feel because you're
right.
right. That's immediately puts you in feminine. Not I think or you should or you think. Thinking is
Mhm.
is more masculine nature, right?
Yeah.
Feeling is feminine.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
And
when
and
you
a lot of times you'll be saying things in your feminine and you're like, this doesn't even sound right. I'm sounding like a 3-year-old, or I'm sounding like a 5-year-old. And I'm like, okay, you're doing it right, because there's a good
ooh,
chance you have not spoken like this since you were a child.
yeah. It's crazy how kids can be so, normal with it. Like, "I feel hurt that you excluded me," right? "I feel like you don't
Yeah.
care." I have
Yeah.
said those things to my partner, and what I do is I go in and I go, "What do I feel?" When I'm feeling masculine or angry or like,
Mhm.
I just wanna get him, I can't believe you did it. Oh my gosh." And
Right.
woo, he sets me
We're
up
all been
sometimes,
there.
we've all been there exactly, and I'm just like, "Oh, I'm just furious," and I'm all then I go, "Wait, but what's the feeling behind this?" And it's almost always hurt, and then it's what specifically is that feeling? Well, I
Mhm.
feel like he didn't hear me, and what does
Mhm.
that mean? Well, I want his attention because
Yeah.
I miss him. I feel like he doesn't care, and then my voice naturally drops down, and I feel like a little girl, and sometimes and I do this by myself, I'll cry.
That's where the
Maybe I'll
tears
journal it
come.
out.
That's right.
I am a crier and I don't care who's there, what's going on. I get others to cry with me. I cry. And people make fun sometimes, but I go, that's my connection with
Yeah.
femininity. Because when I was a teenager, going through a tumultuous life, my mom suffering from mental illness, I had a lot of different crazy things that I share with my Joy Tribe. which I've healed, and I'm grateful for my upbringing. My parents did the best they could, and they were amazing, but I wasn't
Yeah,
always allowed to cry. So
that's
now
right.
I allow myself to cry because
That's
that
right.
means I'm feeling. I'm a little
That's right.
girl. My
And
shoulder
you're,
drop, and I'll say, "Baby, I feel like, you
Mhm.
don't care." So or whatever the feeling is, and he's such a good guy. He'll be like, "Oh, honey, come here." You know?
Can't resist it. Can't resist it. So men can't resist solving a problem, and they kind of can't resist a damsel. Not that you want to be a damsel in distress, but when you are
Yeah,
showing that vulnerability, they can't resist
yeah.
it.
It melts us because
Yeah.
it's they need that. Men
Mhm.
are masculine. We need that protector provider. Women are the nurturing, feeling creatures that we are. We need it for ourselves. I do
Yeah.
that even if I wasn't in a relationship. I do that for myself. But if it's with my man, I tell him. And
Yeah.
girls, it's so hard to be that way. And I know Adrian talks about that, but you have to do this if you want a happy life, if you want a happy relationship, if you want a happy marriage, partnership, you're going to have to be vulnerable. You can't just tell your
Absolutely.
girlfriends how you feel. I think you can't flood the man with all your feelings at all one
That's
time. You got
right.
to also tell
That's
your
right.
girls, go to God and journal and tell your
Yes.
family. But when it's something that you need to talk to him, I've made that mistake too before and lost many good relationships by just not telling him anything,
That's
being
right.
Miss Cool Girl. And
Yeah.
it won't last. He's not
Yeah.
going to connect with your heart
Yeah.
because he doesn't really know you.
And what
Okay,
you're
you're a little
defining
crazy.
exactly, and what you're defining is like a all or nothing. It's like, I'm not gonna say
Yeah.
anything, or here comes the floodgates, and you're
Yeah.
gonna hear it all. And what we're trying to do, again, this is balance. This is
Right.
wholeness. We're getting
Yeah.
you like right there in the middle. And you touched on a really important video I have out there called the emotional parfait. And I don't know if we
Ooh.
can link that anywhere in there, but that's where
Oh, I'll
you
link it
start
down
off
below.
with that first knee-jerk reaction, that first feeling we get, like, "I'm disappointed," or "Why
Yeah.
did he do that?" It's your first
Mhm.
feeling, but really, there are a lot of feelings beneath that. You just have to I teach you a little process how to go deeper until you can find that, authenticity, because men are way more perceptive in feeling than we give them credit for. If we
Yes.
come to them with any sense of, "I am about to get you to do something for me. I'm gonna say my words to control an outcome, or I'm gonna coach you, or I'm gonna
Mhm.
lecture you." If you come with any ounce of that, they know it and they feel
They
it, and
know it, and
they won't
uh,
respond.
you're absolutely right. My man is extremely smart, he has great communication. I'm so blessed beyond compare to be with my friend. We were good friends, now we're best friends and in a
Right.
relationship, and he'll be like, "Oh, that manipulative." Like, he'll call me out. "Look at you being all manipulative." Sometimes he'll call me out, and
He's very
I tell
brave
you,
to do that.
and I go, "Oh my gosh, he's right, that was." And sometimes I
Yeah,
say, "Well,
yeah.
it's not manipulative. I was being kind, like, on purpose," but sometimes I have to go, was I trying to get him to do stuff? Because we
Mhm.
know us women, we can, "Oh, honey, will you do that?" And you're not really, you just want him. There's a way that you can be very authentic and honest without being manipulative, and I think this is what you
Absolutely.
teach.
Absolutely, and I think a big, what touching on that, a big part of that is saying, "Well, what do you think?" Like, if you do want your husband to do something, you can ask and let him know, like, "Hey, this would feel really good to me," or "This would feel
Ooh, I like that.
wonderful," and then always say, "What do you think?" Because then you're leaving
Yeah,
the thinking to him. And like I said, men love a job. They just don't
they
want us
do.
to come at them with a list of jobs, because then it's like
Yeah.
we're a manager. We're the
Yeah,
boss.
exactly, and it's like, just men are not dumb. You can also present a problem, and sometimes it's silly, but, I'll be like, "Baby, can you open this?" I
Yeah,
ask
of
him
course.
because
Yeah.
little things like that, and women,
Yep.
we are so not taught to ask a man for to
That's
help
right.
us, but sometimes you
That's
gotta make up something for them to help you. If you are one of those women who are, "I can do it all myself," start
Mhm.
slowing down, let men open doors for you, any
Oh,
man.
yeah. Oh,
Doesn't mean
yeah.
they're gonna sleep with you or get a pass to sleep with you. I'm like, I know a
That's
lot of women,
right.
they're like, "Oh, he told me I look nice and I can't." I'm like, "You can't accept a compliment? You think that's gonna
That's
lead to sex? Are you crazy? Accept
right.
the
Well, that's the
compliment. You do
fear.
look
You
nice."
see, that's the masculine energy mindset, this world, because that's what the generations before us had to fear.
Yeah,
But that's
true.
not, now don't get me wrong, don't, if you go to a man's hotel, you
In
know,
the middle,
he
yeah, after
he
8 PM, yeah,
yeah,
don't be
or
dumb.
anytime, really. So, I mean,
Yes.
you got to use common sense here, but receiving is something women have been taught to fear because we said, well, that gives a man an invitation to, he thinks I want more, or he thinks I want to
Yeah,
sleep with. And you know what? Let him think whatever his crazy mind is going to want to think. You
exactly.
know who you are, and you're just receiving. And if he misinterprets
Yeah.
something, but I will tell you that in terms of receiving, it usually does start with men that are not desirable.
Mhm.
And the more comfortable that you get with receiving, the more quality of man you begin to attract. Yeah, I call it
Yeah.
moving up the tiers. You're learning, you're figuring out your feminine energy, you're figuring out how to receive and how to really, really get a man. And you're
Yeah.
going to keep moving up that tier until you come into alignment with the right type of man that you're going to like. Which
I
brings me
love
on to
that.
number 5.
Okay. We're getting there, Joy
We're
Tribe. This
getting
is
there.
so juicy. It's so good.
Like I said, it's a master. This one, I can tell it is a master class because you are wise. You have really, really studied, and you have got it. You've got it. You learned all the secrets now, Joy. So,
You.
well, a big one that people struggle with in relationships is that we are often caught up in what we're feeling and the sensations we're having instead of
Mm.
focusing on solutions. Now, you might say, well, wait a minute. You've just told me that I need to get in touch with my feelings, and now you're saying focus on
Mm.
solutions. What I have experienced in my relationship and helping other women is that it becomes a big entanglement of feelings, and no one is stopping to say, hey, how do we fix this? Okay,
Yes.
you're sad,
Yes.
I'm angry. What is it that we're trying to fix? And you're staying solution
Hallelujah.
oriented. Yeah.
I'm sorry. I had it just, it's so good what you're saying, Adrian, because that I've sometimes with my partnership now, with my boyfriend, have done that. And he does that too. We're just different people. I'm like, we're saying the same thing. And he'll be like, yeah, you're right. We are. He'll say, I'm just masculine. You're feminine. That's why. And I'll be like, you're right. And it snaps you out of it. If two people come together and think we're really, the relationship is the prize and we're not in a battle, then we want to get out of this. We want to talk it through to get a solution. We don't want to just talk it. You need to hear me. And I think a lot of women do that. And it scares a lot of men off too, and
Yeah.
my cousin will say the same thing. She's like, "You be the solution." She's very wise beyond her years too. My cousin Randy, she's a musician.
Ooh.
She says
Oh, wow.
she says what you say too. She says, and I've sent her your videos. She says, you start it, something like that. Like
Oh, I like that.
you start it. Starts with you." And I'm like, that is so simple
Mm,
and so annoying
mm.
because who wants to start it first? He should be starting it first. Then you go,
So I
okay,
have one tweak for Randy with that.
okay.
She's kind of telling him what to do.
No, I
And
mean, she says that to me.
oh, to you. Oh, I see. I
To
see. I see.
me, yes, because you're
I
right.
see.
You're right.
I
I
see.
she says that to me because I'll be like, oh, I'll talk to her,
Okay.
and then she tells me, "Will you be the person to start it? You start it. You
I
show him as it. You be the
I see.
example."
Because
And of
I
course,
was
I don't
gonna
want to hear that.
I was gonna say with my husband, he's always like, this is this and this is that. He makes the announcement and then he's coming to me like, how are we gonna fix this? Because I am the person who
Ah,
can but that's where again we're going back to these traditional values. We do what works. You
yeah,
know, a
true.
lot of my female clients are like, I pay all the bills in the house. They keep up with
Yeah,
the ledger and everything. And I'm like, look, if you're good at it, do it.
right,
Do it.
right.
Because how much would you pay? How much would you pay to have someone in your house at night that whoever rings that ring doorbell or knocks on that door, they're going to get up and protect you? Like,
Yeah,
what is
that's
that
true.
worth to you? Is it worth paying all the, you have to learn how to balance this in your mind
Yes,
and in your heart. Because we go back to that 50-50, like you do this and I do that.
yeah.
And
It
it isn't
can't be.
always, yeah, it can't be because your women are going to be naturally more gifted or have the mindset for certain things, and as will men. But I will tell you, men at any opportunity, a lot of men at any opportunity, if there's a chance to be lazy and not
Mm,
have to do something, they'll take you up on that because again, that's masculine energy. we're coming to the shortest conclusion to any problem. So let's say you're
Mm.
crying and you're upset, and you go, "Well, honey, what should I do?" And the guy says, "Well, stop crying." Right? Because when you stop crying, the problem's over. You're not crying anymore.
Just walk it off.
Yeah, this is how men figure these things out. Now, use this to your advantage when there is a problem and maybe you know how to figure it out, but you're exhausted. So just say, "What do you think?" "I don't know. What do you think?" And you want to give him at least 6 to 7 minutes on his own to figure it out. And he'll start talking to you and he'll start coming up with more questions, asking and be like, "Baby, I don't know. I don't know." And it's not that you're playing dumb to manipulate him. You're getting him activated into that muscle because men have been around women who have been doing it all for them.
It's true.
And at
A
some
lot of
point,
women are raised by these very masculine women, the moms, who do everything for them and
and you
are
have to learn how
exhausted.
to lean back. Yeah, you
Yeah,
have to learn how to lean back. You need to know when you need to handle the bills. You need to know the difference, but you need to
mhm,
know also when to lean back. And
I
that's
agree.
all my tips. That's a lot of wisdom right
Woo!
there.
That is the whole kit and caboodle, girl. You took us to church here.
Well, you too. You know a
It's
lot too.
true.
You've done your work. You really, really
Thank
have. I'm
you.
so
Thank you.
proud.
Thank you so much, Adrienne. I'm passionate about this because it really truly helps. It helped me. I want it to help my joy tribe. I want happy marriages, happy relationships, happy single women, happy single men. We need to be happy again. That's why this is the joyful life.
Yeah,
And
stop
yeah,
competing with each other. Stop drawing this
yeah.
line down the middle. I saw a kid recently, they had a button, they said gender roles are dead. And I was
Mm,
like, do I agree with that? Well, here's the part I
mm.
agree with. Roles.
Ooh, that's a
Roles.
good one. Hmm.
That's the part I agree with, because this is not about
Yeah,
you do this and I do that. It is
yeah.
about finding what works in that relationship and having that flow and feeling that wholeness that we've been talking
That
about.
is so good because it's true. We can get it. So I'm more the traditional side. I was raised by a very traditional conservative upbringing, but nowadays it is different than the generations we were raised with. Our parents are going to be raised different. And however you were raised, you can still change it. And your relationship's going to be an amalgamation of what you've learned, what your partner's learned, and what you guys take together. And social media is going to have their certain thing, but you're
Hmm.
gonna I feel like it's not one strict way. Like you
Right.
said, if a woman, maybe she's got a job that pays more money, so she's paying more of the bills, and the man is taking more of the housework. That
Yeah.
works for a couple, it works for a couple. Doesn't make one more masculine, more feminine.
Yeah,
The
you have
energy stays the
God-given
same.
talents. Right, you
That's
have
right.
God-given talents. You can't some people are handed out different talents and strengths than other people, and you
Yeah,
can't fight against that. You
that's
have to
right.
just, go with that flow, but
Yeah,
find out what gives you that balance. And that's why I
yeah.
say choose your partner very wisely. There's only one captain on a ship. There's only one president of the
Mhm.
United States. You have to choose that captain. You have to choose that president very, very carefully, because that
Mhm.
is going to be who's at the helm. And so when you're choosing
Right.
your partner, ladies, if the guy isn't right for you and you can't change him, these are his God-given strengths or weaknesses. It's about, can you
Right.
adapt and work alongside those traits.
Absolutely. And if you have to leaning back is such a good key strategy for all women. They should do that. And leaning back is feminine and observing. Let him do what he's going to do. In dating, if he's making mistakes, let him. Or if he's
Yeah,
doing the right thing, great. Let him be himself. And in fact, leaning back also in a relationship, letting him be the man, be the leader, be the masculine, and
yes,
observe it. And then you have
yeah,
your juicy, beautiful life as you talk about this juicy, wonderful life. And I do that. My day off, I do what I want. I spend time with him. And he knows I'm going to go do what I want. I'm going to go hang out with girlfriends. I'm going to go, if I want to go here, I'm going to go hang out with my cousin. I have my
right.
calls, my things, my podcast. I don't give up who I am to be in our relationship, but we make room for our partners.
That's right.
And
That's right.
but you've got to keep yourself. So if you're coming in empty to a relationship, ladies, the man will become the project and you'll be miserable.
Yeah, it is a miserable existence. And I hear this duality from women sometimes, like, my boyfriend told me he doesn't want me to wear short skirts anymore and tight tops, and he told me he wants me to dress differently. What should I
Uh,
do? And I said, you need to listen to him. You need to listen to him. If that's the man you want to
mhm.
be with, and he's saying he doesn't like how you dress,
Ooh,
you need
that's
to listen to him.
powerful.
And I had a woman in the comments say, hey, I'm a licensed psychologist. You need to
Ooh,
have your own identity. You need to wear whatever clothes you want to wear, and don't let anybody tell you what to wear. And I said, well, wait a minute though. If you want to be in a relationship with this person and
mhm.
they want to go out of the house with you not looking a certain way, you're going to have to listen to that person if you want to be with them. It's that easy. You can still wear
Sure.
what you want to wear in your off time, but
Yeah,
there's a time that you have to let that man, you have picked your captain, you have chosen your
true.
president.
And
Think
it's for the
about if you
best.
buy a man a shirt, right? You'll go out and buy a
Yeah.
man a shirt and be like, baby, don't wear that. Wear this shirt instead. Think of how quickly women will say that to a man, but a man can't say that to us. It's a
Ooh, perfect.
duality. Yeah.
It's so true. And this will be controversial for people who are not used to that, but they need to hear it because the same thing is like if you want to be with a person who doesn't care what you wear when you go out, then be with that person.
Be
But
with
like
that
you said, you
person.
take responsibility. If you chose a man who says, I want to spend nights alone, I don't like you going out to clubs all the time, that's your man.
That's right.
then
That's right.
then you're going to have to adjust. It's compromise. Having
That's
been
right.
married, I know how much of a compromise marriage is. It is such a compromise. He's
Yes.
going to do things you don't like. You're going to do things he doesn't like. Somewhere in the middle, you're going to find your balance, your middle ground. And some things might be unfair that they ask. Well, then you don't have to be with them.
That's
You
right.
choose.
Or
You
you
have to put up with it.
negotiate it. Yeah, you negotiate it. You have a
Negotiate.
boundary.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. And you say, well, baby, I don't, how about if you drink a little less and then I'll go out a little less and then we'll meet in the middle. You just negotiate. So true. And I do think that for women who are, I'm going to piggyback quickly on that before we wrap up. This is so, I could talk to you forever, Adrienne. You're
You
amazing.
too.
It's so good. But on the dressing, I think of it too as respect. And anyone who thinks what you wear doesn't advertise a certain thing is
That's
they're
right.
tripping. We
That's
know that. If you and especially women, women's bodies, for better or for worse, we are more objectified, but we're more
mhm.
beautiful.
Yeah.
God gave us physical beauty. So what
Yeah.
you wear will communicate something, whether you like it or
Mhm.
not. A man
Mhm.
too. So if you communicate and look like you're single all the time and the guy says, hey, listen, do you mind not? Because I'm with you and I
That's
love you and
right.
I know how men are and I don't want them staring at my woman like she's not, then you're
That's
going to
right.
have to do it. Like you
That's right.
said, I would say do it unless you want to be single or you want to be with someone who doesn't care.
That's right.
I
That's
like
right.
it when my man says something like that. In fact, I'll say, baby, I wouldn't wear this out. It's only with you. And
That's
he likes it
right.
because he knows,
Yes.
it's like, I wear this for you. Those short
That's
skirts,
right.
our date
That's
night,
right.
and dress
Yeah.
up with your man. Then you can
Yeah.
totally get all
Yeah.
sexy and fun. Make it a thing with
Yeah.
you guys. I love
That's
that.
right. But now you got that polarity happening, you see. You've got that
Mhm.
polarity, and there's no stronger aphrodisiac than that polarity that you begin to feel when
Oh,
you're in your feminine, and we didn't even talk about that.
no, that's part two. We got to do another one. That's the after hours aphrodisiac polarity because it could be very sexy when you know who you are,
Oh, yes.
lady.
Yes. Yeah.
I love it. Adrienne, you've been absolutely amazing. Thank you so much for your wisdoms, your story sharing. Please tell my Joy Tribe anything else you want to tell them where they can get a hold of you. I mean, you do coaching, you have programs, you
Yeah.
do your YouTube is free online, your website, everhartcoaching.com. Please go ahead and tell the Joy Tribe
Yeah,
what I
I
haven't
mean,
said. I'm a
that's
fan.
pretty much it. Follow me on YouTube. It's free for those who don't understand if you subscribe on YouTube. And that helps spread my message, my word. Comment. I also have a private coaching community, and I have a
Mm.
newsletter. I have a podcast called This Podcast is for Women.
Oh, I
Check it
love it.
out.
Yes.
I got a lot of
Good one.
resources out there. And thank you so much for having me on your show. It has been an absolute pleasure to be here. Thank
I
you.
am so glad, Adrienne. Thank you. This is going to be on season 2. We're starting season 2 of the Joyful Life podcast with a bang. So thank you. I know. And
Glad to be
happy
part of it.
Valentine's Day, everyone, because we're filming it during Valentine's Day. So Go out there, use these tools, have a beautiful life, and I'll see you in the next podcast.